I am Jim Harden. I'm the president and CEO of Compass Care. To make a difference in a battle, you got to go where the fight is. A few months ago, I was speaking with a friend of mine who has been deeply invested in the pro-life movement for over 40 years. And this was the first time I had ever heard despondency in her voice. So I asked her how she was doing, and she said, you know, Jim, I just don't understand why people are leaving New York. And I said, you don't? And she said, well, I understand, the high taxes and the bad politics and things like that. But in times past, when there were issues like women's suffrage or the personhood of the black man, people would move to the epicenter of the battle so they could have a greater impact to change the world. The greatest injustice there's ever been is happening in our day and time, and the epicenter of the battle is New York. So if they want to see change, they should be moving to New York, or at least, reinforcing the pro-life efforts here. So I think I encouraged her, and I said, there are still yet thousands of pro-lifers investing in New York, both living here and outside of New York. And you know what? Here we are. New York is, in fact, the abortion capital of the United States, with more abortions per capita than any other state, complete with the most permissive abortion laws, second only to North Korea and China. And because of that, I've heard many pro-life leaders throwing up their hands and saying, New York is a lost cause. But if abortion is an injustice that needs correcting, then New York is precisely where Christians need to be. This is where the battle is. Abortion is not just another social issue with people of differing opinions on one side or the other. Abortion represents a fundamental misunderstanding of what it means to be human under God. Our times can be characterized by a malady, cheapening human value in the minds of the population. Abortion is a symptom of that disease. This is not just another tragedy like Hurricane Katrina or a terrorist attack or COVID-19. Because with over 50 million abortions occurring worldwide annually, it is unfathomably, incomparably, the greatest oppression in human history. The world is not simply destroying individual lives, but oppressing the very future. Death is perceived as a solution, not only by politicians and medicos, but also, and saddest of all, by women who think abortion is the only way for their lives to continue. Abortion is a mountain of injustice, make no mistake. But Jesus said, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible to you. Abortion is too big a mountain for government to move, even if it wanted to. Abortion is too big for medicine to move. Abortion is a God-sized problem only the church can solve. It is the church of our time that God has sovereignly tasked with addressing the greatest injustice of all time. But the height of abortion will only diminish in proportion to the depth of value the community places on human life. The equal value of human life is rooted in the truth that we are all created in the image of God. There is no other basis for human dignity. That we are made in his image is the foundation of all true justice, and it's why Christians can stand with such resolve in the fickle flames of worldly passion that would burn the house of civilization to the ground. Abortion is a massive mountain. Sometimes the mountain seems too big for our resources are seemingly too meager to move. It feels like our mustard seed of faith to move mountains is like a plastic spoon, which God gives us and says, okay, start digging. But perhaps it is in the mountain that we move where we find the resources to continue moving it. From faith to faith, grain by grain, strength to strength, stone by stone, one woman, one baby at a time. We can serve more women and save more babies. But to do so, we need to repeat what God has done in Buffalo and Rochester. We need to build the facilities and the nursing team to serve 25% of all women shopping for abortion in all the abortion hubs. We may not be able to save them all, but if Compass Care's experience in Rochester and Buffalo and in helping pregnancy centers all across the country teaches us anything, it is that we can save a lot more. All we need to do is effectively serve more women one at a time, giving her a vision of her future after having had a baby. empowering her with the ability to say no to abortion. We will not shuffle across the finish line of eternity saying, oh, there was nothing we could do. By God's grace, we will continue blazing a sacrificial, life-saving trail right through the gates of heaven. I want to see the church running so hard to the finish line that the saints and angels on the other side see us careening toward them and jumping out of the way, yell, watch out, here they come. That's what I want to see. Scripture tells us that believers of Jesus are not of a group of timid souls who shrink back in fear to avoid the good works which he has prepared for us from the foundation of the world. The good works of reflecting his image on earth through self-sacrifice for our neighbor, beaten and left for dead on the dangerous Jericho road of culture. We are those who have faith to the preserving of the soul, ours and others. The church in New York today only has the capacity to serve 1% of women seriously considering abortion in New York, except in Rochester and now in Buffalo, where we now can serve 25% of all the women who are seriously considering abortion any given week. This is the plan: to amass all the proverbial pro-life plastic spoons in New York's abortion hubs, to reach and serve 25% of women in 3 more abortion hub regions by 2026. Why 25%? Because that is the profit margin of the abortion industry. If we can cut the abortion industry's profit margin, what will happen? They'll need to diversify their services, reduce their staff, reduce their hours, or simply go out of business. And that is exactly what we have seen happen in Rochester and expect to start seeing in Buffalo and in New York City, should the Lord continue opening those doors. You know, the Lord has sovereignly placed us in a moral dark age, an age where the greatest injustice in the history of humanity is being perpetrated. Christians have been given a great opportunity to leverage the faith God has given us. But are not dark times precisely what the light of faith is for anyway? There are untold biblical stories I want to hear when we cross over to the Promised Land. The story of Paul being stoned and left for dead, reviving, and walking right back into town. Well, what happened after that? I'd like to know. Yeah, the story of Caleb, after wandering with the people of Israel for 40 years in the wilderness, going to Joshua and asking him to let him take the hill country, the land of giants and fortified cities that frightened off the Israelites in the first place. An old man wearing 40-year-old shoes. Joshua said, go take it. And Caleb did. But how did it happen? I'd like to know. We are in one of those stories of biblical proportions. Abortion is a God-sized problem only the church can solve. And I believe the people of God in eternity will be asking us about this story if we were there and what we saw and what heroics were done for so many lives to be saved for the glory of God. And like Henry V in Shakespeare's play, looking at the overwhelming odds for the battle they had in front of them on St. Crispin's Day, told his cousin, "We few, we happy few, we band of brothers, gentlemen in England now abed, shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, whilst any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's Day." We are not a band of timid souls who shrink back in fear to avoid the love and good works that God has decreed that we perform on this, our St. Crispin's Day. We are those who have faith in the preserving of the soul, both the souls of women and their lives, the lives of the preborn boys and girls. And this is how we're going to do it. One community, one woman, one baby at a time.